And if you're not one of those three, then you're a failure. That's literally how it goes.
A failure. To go back to the time you were thinking to yourself, something's got to change.
Oh, man. There's something here, but I'm not necessarily sure what it is yet. If it's okay with you, I'm going to give your audience the easiest way in 2024 how they can fix their credit within 30 to 90 days. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me. Y'all better pay attention.
Right.
What's up?
Life of a hustler, gotta do it for mother, gotta do it for father, even though he act like a sucker. Life of a hustler, gotta do it for granny, gotta do it for brothers, even if they think I don't love them. Been getting active and hustling.
What's up? It's your boy Brandon J, back with another episode of the More Action Podcast. We here at the Podcast Summit 2024 with David Shanes, plenty of other speakers, Donnie Wiggins, and I was able to run into Marvin Francois. This man has been interviewing on YouTube all of the people that I've been learning from the past couple of years, and I wanted to get his take on how he grew this podcast. So go ahead and let him know how you started, and go ahead and let them know who you are.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your incredible platform. I want to start by saying that, energy is everything. And when I had met you, the way that you approached me and just how open and how genuine you were, it would have been a very big mistake on my part to leave here and not have the opportunity to sit down with yourself. I love what you're doing. I love who you are and how you carry yourself, and it's a privilege for me to be here on your platform before I say any and everything else.
That's so cool.
Yeah, to answer your question, for those who are watching who are unfamiliar, allow me to get y'all familiar. My name is Marvin Francois. I'm the owner and founder of Takeoff Financial LLC and the host and creator of the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And pretty much what I do is I serve entrepreneurs who are looking to leverage business funding by interviewing other high-level entrepreneurs in spaces adjacent to business funding. So to just kind of take a couple of steps back, I've been in the credit and funding space for a little over half a decade. Like I said earlier, I have a firm around credit and funding called Takeoff Financial, pretty much where if you're a business owner who is looking to get access to capital, but you can't because your personal credit is keeping you from doing so, we provide services around helping your credit get clean and resources that help you to get funding for yourself and by yourself. Now, through the several years of me being in this industry, one of the things that I realized was that I was helping people clean their credit and I was helping people get access to the funding through these resources I provided. But a lot of entrepreneurs, especially newer entrepreneurs, didn't know what to do with the funding once they got it. All right, Marv, you helped me clean my credit. I have $50,000 in funding. What next? And at that moment, a light bulb clicked off because through my journey as well of building this business, I had built a network of entrepreneurs from real estate and logistics and, consulting and e-commerce and all these other different things. And through me building that network, I was able to kind of look at what I was doing with my credit consulting firm, look at this network of individuals and say, okay, cool. There's something here, but I'm not necessarily sure what it is yet. It wasn't until a good friend of mine, Darain De Levante, chased me down literally for 4 months. And he was like, hey, man, rain, sleet, hail, snow, you going to interview me on your YouTube channel. Because I had a YouTube channel that I was creating content around for these things. And at the time, I was like, I don't interview. I make my own videos and I serve these individuals. That's all I do. And ultimately, I kind of gave in and did it. Our first episode took off. In my mind, I thought it was a fluke until he brought one of his close friends to come do my podcast as well. And that episode took off. And then from there, I was like, all right, I got a podcast.
Wildfire spreads, man.
But what started to happen was the problem I previously had where I had all these people who had clean credit and had funding but didn't know what to do with it got solved because through me building this platform, what started to happen as a result was these entrepreneurs that I was interviewing who are real estate investors, entrepreneurs in trucking, entrepreneurs in consulting, e-commerce, and so many of these industries, they provided so much free value around who they are, what they do, and how they do it so that these other entrepreneurs could do the same, that these same business owners that was getting funding were like, Marv, because of this guest you interviewed, I can now go put 50K here, 30K here. I can go start my own real estate business. I can go start my own trucking business and beyond. And ultimately, I've been building the platform from then until now. We're currently sitting at 85,000 and some change subscribers, a couple thousand listeners on all audio platforms, a couple million views on, all social media platforms and beyond. And we're just growing this thing piece by piece, content by content, episode by episode, man. And here we
Man,
go.
I'm telling you, you are like mastering this. I'm telling you
appreciate
because
it.
I've been watching videos to learn from the free information like you're talking
Right.
about. Learning from guys like Herman Dawson,
My guy.
Smitty the Goat.
Go.
The interview that you did with Herman, man, I swear I watched it probably 5 times. And that's why it's so cool talking to you in person right now. And seeing how you articulate yourself and everything live,
Right.
it's pretty cool. But when you think back to like before the YouTube started taking off, before Durain asked you to come, do his interview, what were things like before the podcast grew, before you really started seeing, other people benefit from what you were teaching them, what would you have going on before that?
How far back you want me to go? You want me to go before I like started in credit?
I want you to go back to the time you were thinking to yourself, something's got to change.
Oh man.
What was the something's got to change moment?
The something's got to change moment. So let's go. I'll go a little bit before the something's got to change moment to set it up, if that's okay with you. So let's go to 2017. So in 2017, I had just dropped out of my sophomore year of college, and the initial plan was I'm gonna go to school to become a doctor because I come from a Haitian culture, and in Haitian culture you have 4 career options. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer, and if you're not one of those 3, then you're a failure. That's literally how it goes.
A failure.
Straight up.
The way you put it,
Just straight up. In the eyes of a Haitian parent, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or you are a failure. There's no if,
like
ands,
that,
bro.
Man.
So in my mind, I'm going to school. I go to undergrad, and I'm like, I am here to become a doctor. And then I took my first chemistry class, and I was like, I am not here to become a doctor, right? I failed out the first chemistry class, was failing out of math. I was like, this is not for me. And ultimately decided to drop out of school. And when I dropped out of school, I had got a job working at McDonald's for like 6 months. Because even though I dropped out, I'm a young guy, I need to make some money. And I'm working at McDonald's, slaving away, doing, 8 to 9 hour days at McDonald's. And I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know the how and the what, right? It wasn't until later on that year in 2017, I started my first business with my dad. We opened a hardware store in Canarsie, Brooklyn, right? And that was like my first real business that I'd ever had. I opened it with my dad, and we ran that business from 2017 to 2020. And those 3 years were some of the toughest, darkest, like most grittiest years of not just my entrepreneurial journey, but of my life. It was tough, man. Like imagine putting in like 12, 13, 14-hour days. You're slaving away. And I never saw my personal bank account balance go above $100. Like the business was barely keeping its head above water. I'm in and out of Home Depot every day. I'm in and out of Lowe's every day. I'm all over New York, picking up plaster and plywood and sheetrock and trying to build this thing up. And the business just never grew, right? It wasn't until 2020 came when I had that moment. You call it the something's got to change moment. I call it the I'm tired of being tired moment, right? From 2017 to 2020, I was tired. But in 2020, I got tired of being tired. Like I got tired of
being tired.
I got tired of going on social media and seeing people I went to high school with seeming like they were doing better than me. Traveling to countries I knew I couldn't afford to travel to, making the money I wish I could have been making, just doing all of these incredible things that I just wasn't in a position to do. And in that moment, I had a decision to make. I said, okay, cool. We're going into this year of 2020. Do you want this year to be a repeat of the last 2 to 3 years, or is this a year where you're going to make some type of a drastic, emphatic change that's going to get you to where you want to get to? And then that was the year where I made that leap. So what I did was I, once again, still knew I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. I said, all right, cool. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to borrow money from friends and family because I have money, right? Had no money. I'm going to borrow money from friends. I'm going to borrow money from family. I'm going to go to every mastermind and mentorship program from any and every successful entrepreneur that I can find, because one of them has the answer that I need to the question of what do I need to do to build a successful business? And mind you, it's pandemic. So not only am I broke, but like the world is like experiencing this thing that we had never gone through before.
It's crazy. Sometimes I forget how the pandemic was, because you notice how they were like, put your mask on, 6 feet, and then it was like just some random day. Everyone was at the club again. And it was like, sometimes I forget about how the pandemic was.
It was, man, mask on. Everybody was scared. People were literally dying. Other people were scared of dying because of how many people we saw dying. Stuff was getting close. You had the lines wrapped around like supermarkets because we had like capacity rules. It was nuts. But that was the year where I was like, no, this has to be the year where things change for me. And ultimately, that's what happened. I invested in high level masterminds and mentorships all throughout the year. I had met 3 mentors that year that changed my life, one of which we met and sat with today, Herman Dulce. And he gave me one piece of advice that completely changed the game for me. He said, yo, wealthy people build their wealth by leveraging other people's money, period. If you want to build wealth, you do not do it using your own money, because that's not how the wealthy do it. And they have the money and they still don't do it. They leverage other people's money. And when he taught me that, I said, all right, cool. I think I got something here. And ultimately, that's when I started putting myself in a position to build my personal credit. From there, I started getting access to business credit. Through the business credit, I started teaching other people how to do the same. And then I started creating content around this information I had around personal credit, business credit, and credit repair. And it gave me an online presence that I didn't have prior to. I said, all right, cool. I thought I wanted to do this hardware store, but I really have a knack for this credit thing. People seem to gravitate to me when I talk about it. Let's make a business around this. Started my second official business, my first credit business, my second official business, for Francois Capital back in November of 2020. And after 3 years of being in the same spot, less than 9 months after I started my credit consulting firm, Francois Capital, made my first 6 figures. Ran that business from November of 2020 to August of 2022, pivoted that to my media company where I run the podcast now, then opened another credit consulting firm with the same information I started Francois Capital with, which is my current company, Takeoff Financial LLC. And then in less than the same time frame of Francois Capital, I went on to make multiple 6 figures. And then from then up until now, I've been able to build a lifestyle for myself where I've traveled all across the country. I've been able to share stages with 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. But more importantly, I've been able to turn my mess into a message, if you will, my pain into profit, my test into a testimony. I could go on and on and on, but be able to take what I went through over the course of those 3 to 4 years and use it as fuel to my fire as to why I do a lot of what I do now with the podcast and my credit consulting firm and beyond. So that's the long story short story turn long of what was my something has to change moment that brought me here.
That would have done it for me too, man. I can only imagine going through what you were just explaining here. But I do want to take a quick commercial break.
Let's do it.
To let them know about any products you might have, any services you might have. So go ahead and I'd say 30 seconds. Let them know.
30 seconds. There's only one thing you need to know about, and that's the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. If you are interested in listening to high-level entrepreneurs talk about who they are, what they do, why they do it, and how you could do the same, then you got to head over to my YouTube channel at Marvin Francois. We drop new episodes every week from real estate investors, people in trucking, consulting, e-commerce, and so much more. That's the Marvin Francois Show on the Marvin Francois YouTube channel. Beat me there. Don't meet me there. And I'll see you on the other side of success. Let's go.
Don't miss out on this opportunity. Go ahead and check them out. And by the way, I am letting pre-orders for the book go out. My book, The Credit Curriculum. If you send $10, that's a very low price. The price will be going up once it drops to Brandon J Services at Cash App. You can pre-order my book, The Credit Curriculum, and never be confused about money again when it comes to other people's money. Your own personal credit, business credit. Get well educated around all of those topics. So back to this interview.
Let's do it.
The question that was burning in my head is 6 figures. When you did that, what happened up here? Because I haven't hit a 6-figure anything yet. Year, month, day. Okay, so they say money changes you. Money makes you, realize who you really are. Did that happen, or did nothing change? Like, what happened when you really started making money?
What's interesting about it? For me, I vividly remember the day, like I remember logging into my merchant account because the day before I was sitting around like 99 and some change, and I was like, all right, cool, tomorrow it's gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen, so I'm like, tomorrow it's gonna happen. So I kind of knew it didn't it's not like it surprised me because I was paying close attention to it. Yeah, I was prepared. And then the day came, I checked my merchant account at the end of the day. I saw the number, and I recorded a video of it and everything, 100,000 and some change. I saw it. I took a moment to appreciate it. I prayed on it. And then like 10, 20 minutes after, I was like, cool, back to work.
Wow.
Like literally.
Just like that?
I didn't shed tears. I didn't oh my God, this is incredible. It was dope. It felt amazing. And like I said, I took time to reflect because I didn't just stumble on that number. Like I had to go through some things to get to that number. But like after like 10, 20 minutes, it was just like, all right, what's next? Because, it was never, it was and still isn't about the money for me. It's about the fact that I created something to help other people who were in similar situations and are in similar situations that I once was get out of that situation. I remember vividly, like, and I'll share a story with you. Um, 2022, I was in one of the mentorship groups I invested in. Shout out to my guy Marcus Barney, him 500. Yeah, you know him 500. If you know me and Herm and you don't know Marcus, something wrong.
Y'all gotta
He,
check
he
all of these guys out. I'm telling you, if you haven't heard about him 500, Herman Dawson, check him out. But go
the
ahead.
Godfather. You understand? Him 500. When you talk about like one of the four, if we talk about like four fathers of credit, that's the guy. So one of the mentorships I invested in that year of 2020 was his, right? So funny story is 2022. At that time, Marcus is a master community builder, and one of the things he did every year for the mentorship group I was and still am in called Recession Proof is every year we would have a conference. And 2022, the conference was in Las Vegas, and it was one of those situations where I knew I should have went, but I allowed people around me to talk me out of going to the conference, right? Which was
Wow. So what? How did that happen?
I'll tell you. So I was looking for more reasons. I was looking for every reason not to go versus all the reasons for me to go. And I was asking for people that weren't where I wanted to be for advice on how to get there, right? So people who weren't entrepreneurs. Why at the time was I asking people who weren't entrepreneurs or people who weren't successful, hey, do you think I should go to this conference for this mentorship group that I'm in to learn and get more information that's probably going to help me grow my business? Of course, they're not going to give me the right answers, but at the time I didn't know that. I ended up not going, right? And this ties perfectly back into your question of the 100,000 and why the money isn't with me. Just stay with me. So the day of the conference comes. It's in Las Vegas. I live in New York. So it's on the West Coast. I'm in the East Coast. The day of the conference comes. What do you think happens? I'm on social media and I follow all these other people that's in the conference. What do you think happens?
Posts.
Listen, I'm on Instagram.
Too many.
I'm on the
it.
stories. I'm seeing people going crazy. Meek Mill came out and did a surprise performance. All these, like Irvin Magic Johnson was there. He spoke. People going crazy in the audience. All my friends is having a good time there in the pool. I'm back in New York. I very rarely, if you really get a chance to know me, very few things get me upset, angry, frustrated. I don't think I've ever been angrier at myself and just in general in that moment. Because in that moment, I'm like, why did I talk myself out of what could have been a life-changing experience? I was so angry, so mad at myself. And I remember it. I remember this day like it was yesterday. I just came back from picking up my dry cleaning. I sent a voice note to my closest friend at the time. I'm like, yo, I can't believe I didn't go to this. How could I let this happen? He was like, bro, if you want to go, you can go. You don't work a day job. Like, you're a full-time entrepreneur. It's a 2-day conference. You may have missed day one, but you can still make it for day two. If you're really serious and you're really upset, book a ticket. In that very same moment, beeline home. I'm on the phone while I'm on the highway, speeding, swerving through cars. I'm on the phone with American Airlines, booking a flight.
Wow.
I'm texting on the side, booking my hotel. I'm getting ready to make a last-minute impromptu flight to Las Vegas because I'm like, yo, I missed day one, but I can't miss day two. I'm supposed to be out there. I get back home, pack my bags with all these miscellaneous clothes. I call my other friend. I'm like, yo, you got to drop me out the airport right now. Get on the first thing smoking. I hop on a 6-hour impromptu spontaneous flight to Las Vegas so I don't miss day two of the event. This is why I tell you the story, right? When I get there for day two, and because I wasn't there for day one, I didn't have the passes and stuff like that we have right now. So I get there for day two to go pick up my pass. When I tell you, all day of day two, 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes of me being there. Less than every 2 minutes of me being at the event, someone noticed me from my YouTube channel. And it wasn't just like, yo, Marv, I love what you do. It was like, yo, you changed my life. Yo, this video you made is the reason why I was able to start my business, scale my business, and beyond. If it wasn't for you doing this interview with Durain or doing this piece of content, yo, I don't know what I would be doing right now. And I share that story with you because to go back to your question, I know it was a very long-winded answer, but to go back to your question of, why the 100,000 didn't hit, that, like what happened when I made it out to that event, that for me means more than $100 million because that is everything. being able to be in a position where I can help individuals get out of their current situation and get to the desired situation, like I get emotional even just thinking about it, bro, because like that is genuinely what I do it for. I know I'm gonna make 7 figures, like because I know the work's required of it, and I know I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna make 8, but to be able to have someone look you in your eye and be like, "Yo, I would not be where I am if you didn't make this piece of content or if you weren't doing what you did." Like that's the kind of stuff that gives me goosebumps. That's what drives me, not the money. So that's why the 100,000 didn't resonate for me.
Well, hey man, coming from me, that's exactly what I would say.
I
I would
appreciate
not
it.
be where I'm at because I learned so much about credit listening to the conversations that you basically force people to have. Because when you ask certain questions, it brings out information that other people wouldn't just say for no reason.
Right.
So when you interview the right type of people,
Right.
you ask the right type of questions, it really does help people. I mean, y'all gotta understand. I met Marvin today.
Yeah.
Like this is great. I'm going crazy right now because there's so many other people here
Right.
at this event. But I wouldn't have been at this event without specific information, you know, and strategies that allowed me to get here.
Yep.
And you know what's crazy? I'm listening to your story. I haven't even been on a plane more than one time.
That's crazy.
And to think that you were in a rush and you were on the phone
Yep.
booking flights,
Yep.
it's like, man, one day I'm gonna be
Come on, man.
I'm gonna be on a rush
Yeah.
to get on a flight to go to Las Vegas or Mexico or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Just to learn more information.
Yep.
It's so cool. But I did want to talk a little bit more
Let's do it.
about clients.
Okay.
Because my question is,
Okay.
when you started out, you know, telling people I can, you know, help you build your credit, get you funding. In my personal opinion, a lot of people seem to be scared if their credit, you know, is low, for example. They're like, I don't even want to get into that or talk about it. Like, how did you build a community of people who truly wanted more when it came to credit, like, you know, getting funding and things like that?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me that I used to my advantage. So a lot of people don't know, I actually have a background in entertainment. So before I got into the financial literacy space, I was a stand-up comedian for 3 years. True story. So I was a stand-up comedian for 3 years, and one of the things that I took from stand-up that have translated so seamlessly to my journey as an entrepreneur is the fact that I'm a great communicator. I'm a solid communicator. I wouldn't say great. I'm a solid communicator.
Did you ever get booed off stage?
Never got booed, but I've had some terrible nights. I've had some nights where it's a long train ride home. And you're like, yo, you really want to do this? Like
Stand-up comedy for 3 years is dangerous, man.
it was, man. I got some stories, dog. It was an interesting experience to say the least. But you know, God works in mysterious ways. I built incredible relationships. But one of the great things that it gave me that I translated to entrepreneurship was coming into the credit space. I knew, okay, what is the one thing that's going to separate me from all the other people that are saying they can help with credit and funding and all these other different things? And I realized what it was I have a background in entertainment. So most of the people when I came into the space that were talking about credit didn't really look like a lot of what we're seeing here at the podcast summit. You got people in suits and ties and boring, and they're very, you know, robotic. Yeah. With me, I was able to weave in entertainment and being funny with the information that people were trying to get. So I made it informative, but also digestible and entertaining to where now I built the know, like, and trust that I think a lot of the people who needed these things, they needed credit, they needed funding. I built that know, like, and trust a lot faster than most other people did, because when you can get somebody to laugh and learn at the same time, that's a superpower, dog. Like it really and truly is. And I think that for me, that was a really big push that helped my company to grow as fast as it did. And even when I met people in person, that was another thing they talked about a lot. Like, yo, you're super funny. You're super engaging. You're super entertaining. I love that commercial you did. I would do commercials for credit and funding while I'd dress up as a police officer and do skits. As a boxer, and I would dress up in a doctor's outfit. Like
Hey, that's smart though. You get people's attention.
get people's attention, right? And it was different, right? Even now, I still don't see people do that. I don't do it as much anymore, but I still don't see people do that. So I think that was a big thing to where it's like, I know you have a problem. It's not that you don't want that problem solved. You just don't know if you trust me enough to solve it. Cool. I'm going to give you the information around your problem to know that let you know two things. One, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna package it in a way that's funny and entertaining to where it's like, all right, not only does this dude know what to talk about, but I like him. He's funny. He makes me laugh. He's black. I'm black. He's cool. He looks cool. I'm a book a consultation. Get on the phone. Once you get on the phone with me at the consultation, it's ball game after that. I'm gonna close you. So that's ultimately what I believe has allowed me to have the success I've had in gaining the amount of clients I've gotten for my company and so much more.
That's so cool too, because I remember one of the speakers said there's somebody out there with a U-size hole that needs to be filled. They can't move on with their life.
Right.
They can't do what they need to
Facts.
do until you show
Yep.
up, unless you show up. So I think that's real awesome that you were able to find a community, and other than credit, right? When you're doing podcasts, my question is, because this is Podcast
Right.
Summit, how do you find the right people that you really want to engage in conversation with on your podcast? Because I know you don't just sell anybody to come on your platform.
No, of course not. No, I'm very, very intentional about, if you see me sit down with somebody, there's people that like have been asking me to come on for years that I'm still vetting in a way, like kind of just watching how they move and things like that. And it's not personal. It's just that I am so hyper obsessed about making sure that I give my audience what they want, that I can't risk just letting any Tom, Dick, and Harry under the sun come on the platform, right? I can't risk putting out an episode that I know is bad, but it's like, screw it. I just want to put up content to put up content. So what are some of the different things I look for? Number one, I want somebody that is true to this and not new to this, right? Ideally, I want to be able to sit down with entrepreneurs that have some level of experience or somewhat seasoned in their space, just for the simple fact that, once again, my goal with my podcast episodes is I want them to be a free masterclass around whatever your field of expertise is. And it's not to say that if you're super duper new, you don't know what you're talking about, but the likelihood is just not as high as somebody that's 10 years in whatever the industry is, 5 years, 7 years and beyond. So experience is a very big one. Two is just who you are as a person. Like, so what's funny is in the earlier stage, I don't do this anymore, but in the earlier stages of me running the pod, I actually used to do like consultation calls before I would book somebody. And we would just talk. Like, I wouldn't let them know why I wanted to speak with them. I'd just be like, yo, let's just get on the phone and chat, but I'd love to get to know you better. They think I just want to talk. In my mind, I'm like, yo, who are you as a person? Like, do you curse a lot, right? When we get on the line, are you like, talking negatively about other people in our space? Are you using this as an opportunity for us to share ideas and build, right? Asking people who I know, who may know them as well, and be like, yo, what do you think of, like, what have you heard about so-and-so, right? Because if you're involved in some fishy stuff, I don't want you on my podcast and beyond. So I would say those are the big three: just who you are as a person, what your experience is in business, and just making sure you're not involved in anything crazy. And 9.9 times out of 10, if you check off those three boxes and it makes sense from the standpoint of, because I've had people that checked off all those three boxes, but like, let's say they're in a space like, I don't know, they're like a roofer or something like that. You're a great person. You've been in the business for a while, but I just don't think the alignment is there for you to come on my pod, because you're great at what you do and you're super knowledgeable, but it's just not going to help my audience. Like, I've had people, even here at the podcast, I'm like, yo, I would love to sit down and interview this person. But in my mind, I'm like, it kind of would, not that it's a waste of time, but it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because where they're at in their,
It just doesn't line up. It just doesn't line up. Like, prime example, there was a gentleman here who spoke, Omar El Takori. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but he was talking about like YouTube mastery with the podcast. I would love to sit down and do a podcast episode with that brother. But what he talks about is kind of similar to what I talk about. So if I came on and interviewed him, it would help me, but it would help my audience. So it's like, and I know he's a genuine dude and he's not involved in anything fishy, but how does it help my audience? How does this serve the people I'm trying to help? And if it doesn't, I don't care how much I like you. I can't interview you.
So pretty much like a nice social background check, and also, I feel what you're saying, making sure that they can teach your audience something. All right, so we got a lot of good conversation in. They learned a little more about you.
Yes, sir.
I definitely did. I know for sure.
For sure.
But now, for the people who watched all the way through, waited to the end, let's get into some credit.
Let's do it.
Into some credit conversations.
Let's
Okay,
talk
so
about it.
I know,
Yep.
Based off of the things that I've learned and been teaching to others, personal credit, you want to fix that first.
Yep.
You want to make sure that that's right before you move on to business credit or anything else. So if you could say one tip, in your opinion, to fixing your personal credit, what would that tip be?
This is easy. All right.
Just one though.
Just one tip? Cool. If it's okay with you, I'm going to give your audience the easiest way in 2024 when we're recording this episode, and potentially maybe even 2025 with the way things are progressing, how they can fix their credit within 30 to 90 days. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me. Y'all better pay attention.
All right. This is very simple. So first thing that you're going to want to do is you want to get access to your credit report, right? We can't fix what we don't know. So a lot of people know they have bad credit, but they're not clear about why their credit is bad because they don't take time to review their credit report. I know my credit is golden, and I still take time to review it minimum once every quarter just to make sure everything on there is set up the way I want it to be. So if you have bad credit, you should be checking it more consistently than that, right? There you go. Don't use Credit Karma. Use a real credit monitoring platform that's going to allow you to see updates that are taking place on your credit in real time. My favorite that I recommend is My Free Score Now. It's My Free Score Now. If you want something that's absolutely free, you could just go to annualcreditreport.com. But I recommend My Free Score Now because once we get into the next steps, My Free Score Now is going to allow you to see if negative items are coming off or are they still on. That's step number one.
Real good. I've been using Experian. I didn't even know about My Free Score.
Experian is okay. I'm not a fan of that either because My Free Score Now is going to give you more. Like I've had people that have had negative items that didn't show up from the Experian credit monitoring. My Free Score Now, from my experience, I've used Identity IQ, Smart Credit, My Score IQ, which are also great options, but I just love My Free Score Now. They're not paying me to say this. I'm just giving them the best, what I think is the best, right?
Hey, that's good. That's good information, man. I know I definitely gonna check it out.
There you go. So that's the first step. Now, once we get our credit report, the next thing that we want to do is if you have, let's say you only have one negative item you want to get off. Let's say it's a collection. You want to take time to review that collection and see if there are any inaccuracies on that negative account. Why? The reason why is because Fair Credit Reporting Act is pretty much a set of laws that protect you, me, and everyone here as consumers when it comes to how information is reported on our credit report, right? One of the things that the Fair Credit Reporting Act says in 15 USC 1681B,
15. Say that one more time, because I'm going to look that
15 USC 1681EB, so E like elephant, B like boy, is that all information on your credit report is supposed to be 100% accurate. What the Fair Credit Reporting Act also says in 15 USC 1681 I5A, I5A, is that if something on your credit report is not 100% accurate, that means that you can leverage the law, those two laws that protect you as a consumer, to either have it updated to make it accurate or have it deleted, right? So when we get our credit report and we see that negative item, we only need to find one inaccuracy for us to use that as a point of leverage to either have that account removed or updated to positive. Let me know if you're still with me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Awesome. Now, what is an inaccuracy? An inaccuracy is any time your account is not being reported the way it's supposed to be, or when your account on one credit report with Experian, let's say, for example, is not being reported the same way on TransUnion or Equifax. So I'll give you an example. Let's say Experian is saying that this account was opened on January 1st, 2024. But TransUnion and Equifax is saying it was open on January 1st, 2023. That's an inaccuracy because it's supposed to be the same way across all three credit reporting agencies.
So that can come off.
Just with that one inaccuracy alone, you would highlight that inaccuracy and use that with those laws I just gave as a point of leverage to have that account removed. So here's what we're going to do with that information. You understand that we need to get our credit report, right? You understand that inaccuracies are not supposed to be on our credit report, right? You also understand the laws I just gave you that work around, that we can use to leverage those inaccuracies to have it removed, right? Next thing that we're going to go and do is what most people do. They feel like it's 2024 and people still think that they have to pay companies for templated credit repair letters when we have artificial intelligence. How about we do this? Let's go to ChatGPT and you're going to tell ChatGPT these exact words. Listen very closely. Hey, ChatGPT, I have account name and account number. You're going to give it the account details. This account has an inaccuracy on this line item, and this line item. Using 15 USC 1681EB and 15 USC 1681 I5A, I would like you to create a dispute letter around these laws and this inaccuracy to go ahead and create a dispute letter that can send to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax to have the account removed. Wow. ChatGPT is going to give you a letter in 10 seconds. You're going to take that letter, and here's what's even better. You're not going to go to the post office. We're in the digital era. You're going to get that letter, you're going to save it inside of your computer, and then you're going to go to a website called Postalocity. Postalocity is going to allow you to send that letter to the credit reporting agencies without you having to leave the house to go to the post office, stand in line for an hour to send out three of these dispute letters. So we just leverage AI, the laws that protect you as a consumer, and other websites so that we can go ahead and identify the negative items on our credit report, identify strategy around getting these negative items removed, and leveraging artificial intelligence to create the letters for us to get those accounts removed in 30 to 90 days.
Yo,
Good to go.
I need everybody who's watching this just to, run the video back about 5 minutes.
Yes.
This is more action podcast. We need action takers. I know 99% of y'all are not gonna do what Marvin just explained, but the 1%.
I love the 1%.
The 1%. I'm gonna need y'all to come back to this video, put in the comments how it worked out for you, because that was a game changer.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Definitely got to start using AI.
Yep.
And I knew about the credit report inaccuracies, but when you started breaking down the laws, and you got real good information just now.
Thank
so
you, brother.
That's what's up. Now that was personal, right? So let's say, that 1%er follows all the instructions that you just gave.
Yes, sir.
Their personal credit score is going up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they're at 685, 700.
Right.
Now they want to start their own side hustle. They want to start, a landscaping company, whatever it is. Starting an LLC isn't too difficult, but we're not going to get into that. We're on credit right now. So let's say you have a person with a decent personal credit score.
Yep.
They've started an LLC for their side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
What's one tip that you would give them for business funding? Because not everybody has the money they need to get started, so how could they get some access to money on the business side?
Yeah, great question. So it's all about strategy and sequence. We're not going to talk, it's 3 S's. There's structure, strategy, and sequence. You said we're not going to talk about the LLC, so we won't talk structure.
Yeah, we'll save that for
Let's
another
talk about
day.
strategy and let's talk about sequence, right? So the biggest mistake most people make, let's say you gave me an example of someone is that already has good personal credit and they have the LLC. The biggest mistake people make is they go to all these different banks willy-nilly without any rhyme or reason, apply for any funding product they can get under the sun, cross their fingers and hope they get $100,000. There's strategy that goes behind getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in funding and beyond, right? The first thing that we want to do is we want to take time to identify the banks that we want to go to and get funding from before we actually go and get the funding from them. How do we identify those banks? We identify those banks by creating what's called a funding sequence. So a funding sequence is just a fancy way of saying a specific list of banks that you strategically put in place, whether it's because you want to minimize the amount of inquiries that you're getting on your report, or because you want to maximize how much funding you're getting, or because these banks have business credit products that align with your funding goals, right? Let's say, for example, you want to get funding that is going to allow you to have the longest 0% APR periods, right? The funding products and the banks that you may go to that fit that goal may be different from the banks you go to where it's like, yo, man, I just want to get the banks that are going to give me the most money, that are going to give me, as I call it, the biggest bag, right? So we want to first identify a funding sequence. Now, what I want to do for your audience, I want to go ahead and give them 3 banks that I believe they can go to for wherever city or state that they live in. And then also on top of that, if it's okay with you, I'm going to give them 3 resources that they can use, because I'm a proponent of creating opportunity and eliminating excuses. So let me go ahead and give them 3 banks. And just so that no one in the comment section says, well, I can't go to this bank or I don't like this bank, I'm going to give them 3 resources that they can use to find any banks that they want so they can create their own funding sequence. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. That's fine with me. It's any state.
Any state. Any city, state, zip code, borough, town, community, town hall.
To my early subscribers, y'all know we located in South Carolina, but it don't matter if you're in New York,
North Carolina, South Carolina,
Tennessee,
Yucatan, Tanzania. I don't care where you at.
Let me know.
Let's do it.
When I start traveling, I'm gonna have to put this to use.
I got you. Let's do it. So I'm gonna give you guys 3 banks. My personal 3 favorite banks. So bank number 1 is gonna be Key Bank.
Key Bank. Okay.
Key Bank. So Key Bank is what we call a regional bank. So it's not available in every city, state, and zip code. But what's great about Key Bank is that they will allow you to get up to $50,000 in funding on any one of their business credit card products. And they do a soft pull on your Equifax report. So that means that when you apply for a card with Key Bank, you may get up to $50,000 in funding on one card, and they won't even give you an inquiry as a result of them doing that.
So that's the soft pull means you won't get the inquiry.
No inquiry. They'll check your report, but they're not going to leave a mark to let other credit lenders know they were there. So that's bank number 1, Key Bank. Second bank that you're going to go to is Chase Bank, which is a very popular bank. Everybody knows about it. But Chase Bank is great because Chase has over 5 different business credit card products that you could choose from. But also similar to Key Bank, Chase is super, when you're structured properly and you've built that relationship with them, and we're going to talk about that in a second, Chase can allow you to get approved from 15 going all the way up to 50,000 plus on any of their business credit card products. I personally know individuals that have one credit card with Chase with over an $100,000 credit limit.
I don't want to say ridiculous. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
But see, this is something I did hear about Chase, though. Don't they have
524?
524. Okay, that's some rule where you can't apply for credit in a certain explain that just so.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone.
So for those who don't know, Chase does have a rule called 524, where if you can't have had open 5 new credit accounts within the last 24 months, otherwise they will not approve you for any of their credit card products. So you want to make sure in this list that banks are giving you, one, you haven't opened any new credit accounts, personal or business within the last 24 months.
Timing matters.
Timing matters. And then 2, you want to apply for Chase first because they are, understandably so, because of how generous they are with their limits, they are pretty strict when it comes to who and how they loan their funding, right? But Chase is a really great bank too. Third bank, which isn't actually a bank, it's more of a credit card company, is American Express. Now, I love American Express because American Express is also generous with the limits, but here's what's great. American Express is going to allow you to apply for as many credit cards as you want with only one hard inquiry. So if you apply for 10 credit cards with Chase, they're going to give you a hard inquiry on the first one and a hard inquiry on every other one that you apply for after that. So 9 other inquiries for those 9 other accounts. With Amex, you apply for one credit card with Amex, you're going to get 1 inquiry. If you apply for 9 more after that, they're going to approve you for those other 9 based off of the information they pulled from that first inquiry, and you're not going to get another one after that.
How long does that last? So, say I apply for, you said Amex, right? I apply for a card in January.
Yep.
Are you saying I can apply in February?
So great question. So from what I've always been told, the rumor and the rule of thumb has always been 60 days. But from my personal experience, I applied for a credit card with American Express last year, one business credit card with them, and I applied for like 3 more this year, and they did not give me any additional inquiries for those 3 I applied for, several months removed from that first inquiry that I got from last year. So I've always heard 60 days, but that wasn't what my experience was. I haven't spoken to other people in the funding space around Amex to see if they've seen the same thing, but I'm just speaking to what my experience has been. So those are those 3 banks, right? Let me also give them 3 resources they can use to find other banks beyond those 3. If for whatever reason they're like, I don't want to go to this bank or I can't find that bank. So the 3 resources I'll give them. Bank resource number 1 is a website called Bank Branch Locator. So Bank Branch Locator is going to show you any banks within 1, 5, 10, and 25 miles of whatever city, state, or zip code that you live in. I'm going to say that again, Bank Branch Locator. The second resource that you're going to go ahead and use is another resource that not only gives you banks, but it also gives you credit unions. It's going to be called ibanknet.com. ibanknet.com.
I know I haven't heard that, so I'm taking notes mentally right now.
Now, once again, I want to create opportunity and eliminate excuses, right? So most people are going to comment under this and say, why would you give us a resource for credit unions? We can't get into credit unions unless, we fit a certain criteria, because credit unions have a certain criteria in place for how they approve or allow members to come in to even apply for funding in the first place. Here's a gem. There are associations that you can become partners with to get access to over multiple credit unions all across the country. So the association that your audience is going to go sign up with is an association called financialfitnessassociation.org. And they can pay $8 one time and get access to over 30 credit unions across the country just from that one-time investment of $8. So they just got those 3 banks I gave them before and these 3 funding resources that I just provided them so they can go out and get the bag.
Wow. See, look, anybody watching this, just like Marvin said, there's no excuse anymore. I've been studying credit for a couple of years, and I thought I was doing all right. I'm learning right now.
Right.
Seriously. So that's crazy. I don't want anybody watching this to think that you have an idea or you got some information you need to go get, that you have a money problem. You don't.
Nope.
All you had was an information problem. After watching this video, you could get access to some pretty good funding.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate all this information.
And I appreciate you.
And we gotta do a part 2 because this podcast summit,
Yeah.
It's only day one, and I'm learning a lot. I learned even more in this
sir.
interview. So we definitely gonna have to do a part 2. I got to come out there to New York.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen, man. I would love to have you, man. Let's do it.
It was a really good interview talking to you. I'm glad you taught us all of this information about the banks and the couple of laws. Definitely rewatch this video 2-3 times.
Yep.
Write notes, because like I said, this is More Action Podcast. We need action takers. You can't just learn information and not do anything with it. You're just as good as a person who doesn't know any of the information he just explained. So Marvin, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.
Until next time, go ahead and give them one more, reminder of where they can find you: Instagram, TikTok, websites.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, thank you for allowing me to be able to have the privilege of coming on your platform and getting in front of your audience. Like I said, I really love what you're building. I love the energy and the passion that you have for what you're doing, and just the way that you carry yourself, man. Like, character is everything, and yours is just pouring with just so much integrity and just focus and discipline and motivation. And I'm very happy that you and I got connected. As for everybody who's watching, yeah, you guys can find me on all socials at Marvin Francois on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I'm gonna by the time this goes up, I'll have a LinkedIn. So Marvin Francois on LinkedIn, and make sure you guys tune into my podcast as well, the Marvin Francois Show, your #1 source for all things business, finance, and investing. And that's pretty much it, man. Appreciate the opportunity to get on here. And
Yes, sir. Do not forget to like and subscribe. More Action Podcast. Marvin Francois. Check us both out. Instagram, YouTube, More Action Podcast. And remember, if you send $10 to Brandon J Services Cash App, you can pre-order my book coming out, The Credit Curriculum. Never be confused about money again. It's just a simple, introduction, basic information, nothing too big. But until next time, More Action Podcast is Brandon J. Peace out.